All right, we're here with the mighty Shinji, aka Horizakura, member of the Horitoshi family. What's up, man?
What's up?
How are you, my friend?
I'm good.
All right, I'm just lift up on it. It's fine. You just lift up and force it through. All right, so we're gonna talk about a lot of Japanese tattoos from the beginning of their inception to modern day, and how it's changed and what it's all, try to get from an outsider, from an American's point of view, you'll get my idea of what it's all about, and then you'll hear from the real deal, from Tokyo, Japan, master of the craft, and somebody that's holding on to the old ways as much as possible. So, what's up, Shinji?
I'm good.
I am good. Well, you're the best. So, what number how long have you been tattooing?
I have been tattooed about
We also have
60 years.
ちょっと待ってください. Yeah, 16 years.
Yeah.
We also have Kiku, the mighty Kiku, here to just to give color commentary because he knows a lot about it as well, and also to be somewhat of a
just
interpreter.
The hype guy. Right?
He's the hype man. So you've been tattooing about 16 years.
Yeah.
You started tattooing Tebori style, correct?
Yeah, I started with Horitoshi.
Okay. And you started off as Deshi, as an apprentice capacity.
Yeah.
What made you decide that what was your earliest, what was the first times you saw Japanese style tattooing, and what kind of an feeling did it give you?
I saw a Japanese tattoo.
Okay.
In Horitoshi's studio.
The first time you saw it was at his studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have never been real Tebori tattoo before I met Horitoshi.
Okay, that was the first time you ever saw that. But you'd seen people with Western style tattoos before, correct?
Yeah.
Like a rockabilly tattoos or whatever, like
tattoos,
very much popular in Tokyo. And so, what made you decide that you wanted to go forward and do this?
Because he was in London before.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. I thought you lived in Europe for a while, and you're living in London.
Right.
Okay.
Jason Saga.
Oh, you met those guys first.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Luke Atkinson.
Okay.
And then I feel
they usually just those guys attract like a group of cool Japanese people around them at all times. It seems like, since I've known them, so it would make sense that if you were like doing fun things in London, that you guys would run into each other. So then you met Jason Saga and Luke Atkinson. You decided that you wanted to learn tattooing, so you moved back to Japan for that?
Yeah, I moved back to Japan, and then my friends Kay made set up to meet Horitoshi.
Okay. And what did the idea of an apprenticeship seem like a lot of work, or did it seem like something that you felt that wasn't, that would be easy for you to undertake? Because to an outsider, it really seems like very hard to change one's life to accommodate that schedule. Kiku's gonna help out on this one. I'm gonna try to not go long on the sentences too, so you guys remember it. Like, did you think the apprenticeship would be like a daijoubu, or did you know it was going to be hard?
I wanted to be a tattoo artist, Japanese tattoo artist. So I don't care.
You were ready to do whatever it took.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, right? And what is did you have to? Did they ask you to show that you were serious by becoming tattooed yourself? Or did you already have tattoos from other places?
I had tattoo already.
Okay. That you had gotten in Japan or in London?
Japan, London, Germany.
Okay. When you're traveling all over Europe, you're like making food and stuff like that, right? Like a bunch of different jobs.
I went to Bologna too.
In Italy as well. Okay, cool. Well, you were in a lot of the cities where tattoo shit goes down also, so you were in the proximity of that culture. Did you what number of the Horitoshi family are you? Do you a specific number, or is that only specific to other like?
We have no number, but
everyone is their own.
Yeah.
How many apprentices did Horitoshi have before you came on?
Before I came,
Taku-san, right?
Taku's the first, yes?
Taku-san,
Okay.
Akira-san. Horimasa-san. That's it. 4.
Oh, okay.
Before Shinji.
Oh, so I knew. Yeah, so it was fairly tight because I knew all those guys before I met you as well. And do you think what's different now about the way? Do you spend a lot of time? Do you go back to Japan very often? And are there still young guys that are willing to become a dedicated apprentice the way you were?
I don't know. I think right now not so many people want to be a apprentice.
I don't think they want to go.
They don't have because they're used to seeing everything so fast.
Right.
Now,
They can't even think in terms that
Right.
They can't even think like that.
many books, internet.
Yeah, the information is all so widely available. Yeah, I think if somebody now was going to go through that whole process, it would almost be just to prove they could go through the process. Almost for the most part, instead of them just being like, "This is the only way that I can learn how to tattoo,"
Right.
they're like, "I want to show these people that I can do this as well." I mean, I felt like that's kind of how Horitomo was because he'd already been a master of machine style tattoos.
That's true.
But then he's like, "You know what, man? If I'm really going to learn this thing, I'm going to start from the beginning again." And then underwent that whole process.
Right.
Do you was 16 years ago was Japanese tattooing still very affiliated with organized crime and yakuza and like that kind of culture?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. And was it still was there discrimination against tattoo at just in public places, but also like a onsen and stuff like that?
I think now still onsen people don't like.
Right. They don't like to look at tattooed people. For what they're the easiest discriminated against.
But not every onsen.
Yeah, well, certain people, like if you're a heavily tattooed group of business guys, you would have to have your own places to do business. You need your own spot, so it would just make sense that somebody would cater to those people,
right?
And then they have all their own joints. And what did you in your family did you grow up with a lot of discrimination against tattoo, or was your family they not like, or thought it was just okay?
My family don't like my tattoo.
Or okay. And then did you is that why you moved to New York? You're just like do something new for yourself and switch countries. I mean, what made you decide to move to New York specifically?
It's a long story, but my business partner was.
I remember that the 5'5".
Yeah, 5'5".
Yeah.
She wants to open tattoo shop.
Okay.
In New York, so she asked Horitoshi, please bring somebody from a family. So I said I'm going.
Okay. So you volunteered to help and head the new thing. Do you want a beer? I have a beer. I think it might be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. You want one? All right.
You have a whole refrigerator.
I got my own fridge, man.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe lose something a little bit.
You got everything.
It's not live, so you don't have to. If you say anything that you're like, hey, I don't want to hear that, then I could get rid of it. No problem.
It's live.
It's not live.
No.
It's not live. So, what do you? Okay, I want to talk about. Kate can help us out with this. You do very traditional style Japanese hand-done tattooing. The majority of your clients are Americans here, obviously in New York City. Do you what amount of the a lot of your customers? Do you find a lot of people that want tebori, they have a fantasy about the way, some sort of Asian fantasy? Do you understand? A lot of the people, a lot of the people that I've witnessed, the people that get into a lot of traditional Japanese type of stuff, it's almost like, and I'm not, I'm not trying to get anybody to say anything bad about their customers or anything, but there's a lot of times you get these guys that have these ideas about, they really want that process of where they get the tattoo and then they jump in the hot tub and then they put on a fundoshi and then they walk around with some Japanese music playing in the background.
Right.
That's almost more just a kind of a tourism, like a cultural tourism to get a Japanese tattoo and to have that kind of experience, you know, to where it's because when I've been in Japan, when I've been in Japan, like the Japanese guys treat it very straight up, like it's like just this thing we do, you know, and it's not because it's not this alien foreign thing. They have it's not really overly romanticized. It's just cool shit that guys like, or the women that make women look cuter, you know. But do you find you have a lot of customers like that, or do you find a lot of people that not so much custom, but people that seek full Japanese bodywork tattoos? Do you feel like they have a lot of people are more like cultural tourists? Yeah, how do you explain that?
Yeah, I know what you mean. だから日本のそのなんか
日本好きな人、
日本好きな人、いわゆる日本好きな人
like a almost like a
they just like the idea of Japanese culture about everything.
Yeah,
right?
about everything. Like you go back to the house and it's like they've got like ramen in the fridge. Like everything is, you know, like
And they might have a Japanese wife or something.
Totally. Yeah.
Totally,
Like
yes.
yeah. I mean, that's just that always was so strange to me because, you know, I've always loved Japanese tattooing, but it's always just been very like it is what it is. It's not this thing where like I don't ever really think I'm going to live in Japan. I don't have any entertain any ideas of any of this kind of stuff. Yeah. You know, I just think the tattoos are cool and I like to travel there and stuff. But that's about it. Yeah, it's just an interesting concept because you know I always felt that way. Like I knew so many guys that would like try to straight up be Japanese. You know, tattooers and stuff.
Chinese Japanese.
Yeah, and I always thought it was because it's like if you know any Japanese people, the number one way to not get their respect is just to try to be Japanese.
Right.
Like they're more interested in you just for who you are and your life experience. And if all you care about is all this stuff, because like people like they start learning all about this anime and all this shit that Japanese people don't pay attention to, you know. And it's like, oh wow, it's kind of creepy that you're into all this shit. Actually, it's kind of uncomfortable. Like, how do you know about this stuff? So
they like the Yakuza movie too.
But if they get that far, it's usually just very like Ghost in the Shell, and it's like stuff that's available over here, and they're just obsessed with all this shit off, and you know, later like Netflix later or whatever. It's an interesting. It's interesting when the customer bust out the fundoshi himself, and you never asked him to wear it. You know, like you're about to outline a back piece, and that motherfucker's waiting. He's got that thing ready. A fundoshi is like a Japanese, like a Japanese underwear, and a lot of in the old really cool Yakuza photos, you'd see a bunch of guys lined up wearing this cool, you know, this kind of underwear thing to, you know, block their privates. Right. But a lot of Americans, this is for a lot of Americans, like their idea of the Japanese tattoo, it's like they'll put on a Japanese, you know, kimono around the house and be wearing the underwear like up their butt, like sumo style. Yeah, whatever. It is what it is.
But it's you know, it's like still really scary image if you actually live in Japan.
Yeah.
To see like full bodysuits. Like,
well, because
it's really scary.
You associate that with there's a lot of type of gangsters in America that are the same way. And where you just see that image and you associate that from childhood with a very unreasonable person.
Exactly.
You know, like and like if you're in a situation in Japan back in the day, even as close as like to the 80s and 90s, if you saw a guy with like a full bodysuit tattoo, it's like he was there for a reason, and he's a very difficult person to deal with.
Definitely.
You know, like because the history of that is like one of like in the Yakuza especially, it's just like there's never a scene in a movie when they're not screaming. Right. You know, it's always just like 100% fucking aggression at all times.
But over here, it's like the bartender or the chef or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Bodysuit.
Full bodysuit. Yeah.
It's totally different.
It's totally different
idea.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, it's also time, you know, the times change and stuff. But because our friend John Bush, our friend just got back from Japan.
Right.
And he was really, like, people were coming up to him because he's got sleeves and fucking full chest panel. I mean, like, upper torso, fairly traditional Japanese stuff. And these guys from kind of out in the countryside were like, why do you have this? They're like, how do you even know what this is?
Right.
Because they're obsessed with American shit. You know, these guys are hard guys, like hard gangsters, and they're obsessed with American stuff, and they don't even know why an American person would want that.
Right.
You know, it's like so foreign to them.
Right.
It's just the idea is just so strange that their little culture it's kind of like this to them because they kind of think of themselves as hillbillies in a lot of ways because they want to be Americans. You know, so like what the fuck is that? Why do you care about this shit?
Right.
So in traditional Japanese tattooing, the way that to the listeners. the way that Japanese tattooing, traditional tebori tattooing, differs mostly. I mean, obviously, it's because it's done by hand, manually. Most of the color is all of everything but the line work is applied rhythmically by hand, holding a hand tool. So there's a bunch of different approaches to that the different families do it with. Some use a long stick with giant needles. Some use a smaller one that's like more concentrated. But that's basically it. But another one of the things that where tebori and Japanese traditional hand tattooing comes in is that a lot of times the artist himself is the one that dictates the subject, because people will give you an idea. And even like the most inflexible American tattooer is nothing compared to the average tebori tattooer, because that guy just pretty much tells you what you're getting. He like kind of give you a readout. So Shinji-san, how do you decide what image is perfect for the person?
How to decide?
What's your process? How do you decide when you look at somebody and they say, I want a snake, and then you're like, I think frog. I've seen that happen. He's like, frog.
Yeah, depends area of our body. Also,
okay. Well, the shape of the body first.
Shape of body.
You got to talk to the mic.
Shape of body.
He's background. So
background.
Yeah, he's background. So just get us.
The shape of body.
Okay.
Also,
Placement.
Of body.
Yeah, just the layout.
Yeah.
But do you do any kind of like? Do you think about their personality when you're choosing the design?
But mostly, I choose body.
The shape. What do you think would be the most aesthetically
maybe
pleasing in that spot?
If like your body type.
I like the look on your face when you did
If
that.
you say snake,
I'd be like,
I tell you.
Maybe boar.
Okay. Orochimaru.
Spider.
No, snake with
Oh yeah, the wizard. Yeah. The magician. Cool, man. Well, that's a good one. If I had space for that, I'd fucking love to get
maybe
that
long
shit.
body, maybe good for some dragon or
Okay.
snake.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's
So it's more, that's it. That's interesting. It's more how it lays out, and it's almost like, it's almost. Do you do like would you do like would you do like a skinnier design on a skinny person, or a skinnier design on a heavier person to kind of the way fashion, like the way stripes like make you look different? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because I always felt like whenever I got all the background and everything, like on my ribs and back and everything, it's like your body looks so different. And like every time you walk, it took a couple of years before I had my ribs and everything done, where I'd walk by myself in the mirror and not be like, whoa, like my body looks totally different. Like it changed the way I think about myself. You know. So what do you think? Skinny person snake, or skinny person dragon?
Similar.
Well, they're similar shape, like the same silhouette. Okay.
Skinny person not good. Food
Something super, something really.
膝が2 wide.
You need for somebody to get a Fudo back piece, they have to have a big ass.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
so that he could sit that half Indian style way.
Exactly.
Skinny.
Yeah, torso. Yeah, not enough space.
That's true. Makes sense.
That's awesome. What do you when this is like in regards to Japanese history? Do you think when Hokusai illustrated Shikoden? Okay, so which is a book of the 108 Outlaws, which then largely a lot of them, most Americans' example of tattooing comes from the manga that were the early images that Hokusai drew of these warriors from a old Chinese book. But people don't really know like if they looked like that already and he was copying real life, or if he just made it up and then that started the gangsters. Because the characters he was kind of describing, were kind of the outlaw type of subclass. So it's like, before Suikoden, do you think people had heavily tattoos, or do you think it came after?
From story from Chinese.
Chinese,
so
yeah.
The Japanese, Hokusai or Kuniyoshi, they put drawing in the book.
Yeah, the old like a kind of tabloid magazines that would come out like yeah.
Well, I think Kuniyoshi made
Kuniyoshi
more famous.
he made his ones are more well known. The later ones. Yeah. Okay, so his ones. Well, Kuniyoshi was the first one with serious tattoo designs then. Because I've only seen little ones from Hokusai, but I just assumed because he was older.
Because Hokusai one's not so much for like tattoo design.
Okay, Kuniyoshi was the main one that came on and started doing bold like tattoo designs on the characters themselves as a form of like embellishment of the drawing itself. And so do you think, but before Kuniyoshi, do you think people were actually getting tattoos like that, or do you think Kuniyoshi created the style?
I think Kuniyoshi
created the style himself.
I think after Kuniyoshi. Yeah.
I think it because I think. Go ahead.
Somebody said Kuniyoshi had a tattoo.
Okay.
I heard about that too.
Because like he invented a lot of other stuff as well. Like a lot of those armor designs and stuff were kind of like off the top of his head, like loosely based on real stuff. So maybe he was trying to make these guys look as fantastic as possible, as much to get the attention. You know what I mean? Like whoa, like strike fear into the hearts of all the people reading those magazines. And then all the the people from that class of started getting big tattoo designs,
like a fireman and shit.
Yeah, tough guys. Yeah, tough guys. Like, and they would get it as a sort of like a talisman, like a protection against the fire.
Right.
And they would also have those cool jackets, like the fireman jacket, that have the tattoo designs inside already, so it's like on your skin. Right. Do you what kind of, if somebody wants like a oyoa, which is like kind of ghostish, like a supernatural type of design, correct? If somebody wants something that's really dark, like a kind of dark subject, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like sometimes, like something like, do you have to try to talk them out of it, or try to talk them into something that's maybe a little less heavy, so that they won't have a bad association with their tattoo?
Right.
You know, because sometimes people just want to go sick, and then they get some shit that's like just really ugly, and they don't want, something that's like has a, that has like a really bad connotation. They're like, why am I thinking about this all the time? I've heard people say that just about like Hanya. Right. They're like, it's too heavy. Some people say it's too heavy, and other people don't mind staring at ugly shit all day long. So do you ever try to talk people out of getting stuff like that?
Yeah, if people like a Hanya mask, I think I'm going to put a bungee around or bad things. Hanya is bad.
Yeah, it's a negative image. It looks cool. As cool as it looks, it's a very negative image.
Put a cannon here, or
give them both, or tell them one instead of the other.
Maybe cannon positive.
Positive. You like to do stuff that's more positive.
So
image.
Mix it.
Oh, okay, like balance it out.
Like positive image protect him.
Got you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And that lays out the way, like, to draw a really nice design. It's never can be just like 100% hard and ugly. It has to have some like delicate and so like some soft aspects.
You're not supposed to get like too many like ghost type of image on your body. It's not really good luck thing.
But it could be one of those things where it's like it fulfills itself because this person has all this like death and like ghost tattoos, and then they have nothing but bad luck. But then everybody's like, of course they have nothing but bad luck. Look at all these tattoos. So then nobody helps them, and you know what I mean. And then then it continues. Like it's self-fulfilling prophecy, which I felt that way about a lot of people that get tattoos.
Right.
People will get tattoos that like make them look like complete antisocial derelicts that nobody wants to ever deal with. And then they complain about how the world is out to get them. And it's like, well, you kind of did it to yourself. I mean, you made yourself look this way.
It's true.
So every day you go out and look this way, you're going to have to deal with the repercussions of this. Right. Do you, like, in Western customers, they tend to, their ideas of what a real good Japanese tattoo are, it's usually way too much shit. You know what I'm saying, Kiku? Like,
I agree. Totally agree.
It's like they want... Do you know what I mean, Shinji? Like, they want so many things in one tattoo.
Yes.
And, like they're like, all right, I want a samurai with a dragon. And then I want this, like, whoa, slow down. Because, like, samurai is even too much. Right. If it's a half sleeve.
Yeah, me and Shinji was just talking about that. Like,
yeah, it's like so much crammed into... like
it should be like back piece should be like a main piece.
Yes.
And then like the sleeve and leg and stuff, it should be like background.
Background with just like little subjects. Little subjects.
Yeah.
But nothing that really draws your eye in.
Right.
And nothing that's like overly fussed over.
Yeah.
You know, it should be loose and just kind of like it should be like the center is the energy center, and then it tapers out.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, like you should look at the bigger picture.
Of course.
As you know.
Yeah. Always look at but that's what we say. But you know, when if you have people coming to you for just like one tattoo at a time, and you don't know if you can even invest any energy in them, you're like, all right, just tell me what you want. Just tell me what you, and then before you know it, if they become a really good customer, then you're like, okay, how do I work around all this other shit that I did? Because I wish I would have known this person was that cool.
Right.
You know. But they always, they want like a samurai, like fighting it, you know, like all this kind of stuff crammed in the smallest space.
Half sleeve, you want like samurai fighting or something? Like, don't do that.
That's like ridiculous. Well, bigger stuff always looks so much better, and it's like nobody's ever with this. I always feel like nobody's ever tired of the simpler they went. They're never tired of that.
Exactly.
They always get tired when it's like overly fussed over.
It ages well too.
And it ages really well.
I like space. I like space.
An open space.
Open space.
Yeah.
And then this side, you have this.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Like a little hidden, like.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Well, that's always more interesting too, because
really cool.
I guess as tattooers, we're covered in tattoos and we're around tattoos all the time. It's no big deal. But if I was just a regular guy, I would probably have thought my tattoos out totally differently.
Right.
And I would have kept them as stealth as possible, and as much to where like I'm in control of the interaction at all time. Any kind of interaction with people, I'm in control. So you can't look at me and be like, oh, he's this kind of person.
Right.
You know, which is that's where the whole Japanese like the shinobu, like the idea of like you're living in concealment. And having, the tattoos were for you. The magic was for you. It wasn't. You had them so that you could make a dramatic, showing when you were ready.
Right.
But otherwise, you could just remain hidden.
Right.
What we're gonna like with the Tebori tattoos. What do you find? How much longer do you think? Because I know it does take longer than normal tattooing, but how much longer do you think it takes?
I think
3倍ぐらい。
キクさんと比べて
2倍ぐらい。
maybe 3 times
Longer?
longer.
Wow.
But depend on how simple
is the design.
Right.
How long? What do you think is like a perfect length of a tattoo session for if you're already done with the outline and everything? Just shade, Tebori shading. Like what kind of stretches do you like to go for?
Well,
how long per session do you
Like
like?
each session?
Personally, I like 2 hours.
2 hours per session.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get into it, you get
Yeah,
flowing.
good for each other.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. 2-3 hours
But
is.
Shinji is fast, dude.
You get a lot done.
Really fast. Yeah.
I've seen it. I've watched it. This shit's badass. Do you think that the Japanese organized, like the people that were the main collectors of traditional Japanese tattoos, Yakuza, and that class, do you think that culture is gone now? Do you think it's on its way out, or do you think something else is going to take it over, or do you think the young people will still keep it going?
I think it's still
It's still going.
Still going, but they have no money right now because
No,
now government
they stepped in and took over.
they made a law.
Well, when that's what they did here to fight clubs and stuff like that. They stepped in and they just made all these laws where they could just seize anything at all times. And but with the Japanese government really stepped in and because they took over Pride. Like that was the big, they took over the largest MMA organization in the world at that time. And Japan's going through a lot of shit, and just like right when they were almost on their feet again, the fucking Fukushima, it was like everything was like just coming back, and then boom.
Right.
So yeah, that's crazy. How do you like living in New York? You spent your whole life in Japan up until you were like close to 30, correct?
Yeah.
And how do you, do you really, do you like, because Kiku said he liked New York because it reminds him of Tokyo, and that's why he's like a city boy, and I've heard other guys say the same thing, but do you enjoy, do you like the pace of New York, and do you like, living in, small quarters? A lot of people can't live like this. A lot of people, you know, they just they can't live like in such a confined area.
Yeah, you love it,
being
like,
around
right?
being around so many people all the time and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
I like New York for work
Mm-hmm.
and many good artists here.
Yeah. There's a really good. I mean, just today, just right now, there was
I
like
feel
the whole shop is full of great
more
artists.
free. I feel better.
You feel more free.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, I get it. Is there still like a lot of? Go ahead. Somebody said, okay.
Yes.
Is there still in Japan? Do you feel like there's like still? Is it totally okay to still have tattoos, or is there still quite a bit of discrimination? You never showed
tattoo.
You never showed them.
When I was young, 20s,
Okay.
I always show tattoo because
Oh yeah, of course.
I'm regular guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Right.
this. But now I don't want to show tattoo. I will.
Oh yeah, well, and it attracts unnecessary attention, you know, and you know you end up getting in these stupid conversations with people that just like kind of just want to go about my business.
But especially it was cool back then, like not showing tattoos.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
That's kind of beauty of it.
yeah,
Like, you know
of
what I mean?
course.
It's
Well,
like,
and before it was everywhere. It
But
was a totally different thing.
Japanese people not so much show.
They're still culturally still very conservative. Even the crazy ones are still by most standards very
I would
conservative.
say, yeah, it's
I
getting
think so, too.
it's getting so popular these days, but still,
Yeah.
I see that because I've you know friends that are like, oh shit, here we go, come inside,
John Bush.
fucker.
John Bush.
What's up, man? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
Get in on this.
I'm gonna go get a drink and then I'll come sit back
Alright.
and talk to you
Alright,
guys.
I'll see you guys. Yeah, like even if they're very progressive, they still have like a very conservative outlook, and also like they're very, like it's one of the cultures where they still have a lot of pressure from their parents, even if they're in their 40s.
Oh yeah.
They still have tremendous amount of pressure from their parents. Like filial piety is like, and it really holds them back a lot. You know, like really, not there's always a best way for everything. I mean, there's, but you.
Yeah, my parents still hates that I'm
Totally.
I have a tattoo that I'm
Well,
tattooing.
most Japanese guys I know, they're close to their mom, but they haven't talked to their dad in like 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the tattoo thing. It's like because the dad is still like very stiff and very unflexing in all of his ways and everything.
Right.
You know, and the mom's still your mom.
Yeah.
You know, she's always gonna like sneak off and telephone you and shit like that. You know.
Hey, my dad always asks me like, so when you gonna get a real job?
When are you gonna get a real job?
He's still asking me that
Oh,
question.
yeah, totally. Well, and then the more my family didn't think that I was even having a real job until there was tattooers on television. And then in one day, and after like probably 20 minutes of that stupid show, they're like, "Oh, this is great." You know what I mean? And then they're like, it's like it's completely did a flip. Just as long as the minute they saw that it was something that was on TV, that wasn't the news, like it wasn't crime, then they're all about it. Close that. Yeah. So what's your work schedule here in New York City? How many days do you like to work normally, and how many hours do you like to work per day?
Per day.
Because you need it like a super quiet environment, right?
Appointment
2 hour appointments per day.
per day, and I have to make the
Prep.
meals and
Yeah, people don't understand the amount of preparation that goes into.
grind swimming. But I have a apprentice, so he's making swimming.
That's awesome.
But I'm making needles still myself.
You still make everything yourself, like everything, all the needle groupings and everything.
It's a lot of
It's
work compared
fucking
to
work,
a
man.
machine.
Well,
you
definitely
know?
compared to getting to work and then just opening a brand new package and
Right.
just tattooing all day, and then tomorrow just having
a lot of
your drawer full again of shit to use over again.
Yeah, 4 or 5 days a week.
4 or 5 days a week. And did you ever want to just be like I'm just gonna do machine tattoos? It'd just be like, fuck it, this is too much work.
If I start machine,
Yeah.
I think I'm just using machine.
Yeah, you don't want to open up
wanna-
that door because it's too seductive. Yeah, it'll be too easy. what percentage of your customers get get like a full, like, what do you think? How do most people find out about you first in New York City? Because you stay very low key. You know, I've wanted to do stuff with you before, and you don't have social media. You don't do any of that kind of shit. You know, you keep everything super, super low key. So how do you, do most of your customers find out about you through word of mouth?
Most of my customers still same client about
From when you got here.
7 years, 5 years, 6
Okay.
years.
Yeah. So it just generates itself, and you create loyalty that way, which is good.
They brought me friends.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, because people know, because even if somebody doesn't know the Tibori style has such a great look and such a strong, saturated look that it's, people will be like, man, like I really wanted a tattoo, but like I can't see anything, like they don't really see anything that they like the idea of it, then they don't see anything that strikes them. And then the first time they see like a Shinji tattoo or something like that, they're like, whoa. Because I've seen people do that to Tomoki when we're out on his snake sleeve. Yeah. Where we'll just be out and somebody that you wouldn't think would be care about tattoos at all would be like, what is that? Like, where'd you get that? And then he has to, then it's like, oh, this is a special style. And then they're like, what is that special style? Because then they're like, in their mind, they're like, all right, this is what I'm hooked into. I'm going to get something like this that's legit. And
but the thing about the Tebori is like you really have to be ready to get into.
And it's not an instant. It's not something you can just make a phone call, show up, and then walk out of there with this badass Tibori tattoo. Exactly. And most Americans don't have that kind of, there's not that discipline. Or they're not ready to be hit over the head with something that requires so much of them.
It's time consuming.
Dude, most American tattoo customers, you can't even ask them to just be there mentally when you're doing it.
Yeah.
Fucking bitches are on their phone. Fucking guys I got tattooed dudes that are like fucking, they're like looking at sports scores and shit the whole time I'm tattooing them. Right. Like, I need you here now. Like, I need you here. Yeah, that's totally true. I see that exists in every aspect. But like, how do so most of your clientele is word of mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you still work? I met you at New York Adorned when we worked there together. You're still there a couple days a week.
Yeah.
That's a great operation over there. But of course, you need a lot of quiet when you work.
Just I really heard my needle sound.
Well, that's like the lightest sounding thing. So yes, you need total quiet.
I lost.
You lose it because you do it by rhythm, right? Like a 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3. Okay, that's because I watched you working this so much, and I was like, hey, it looks like he's got like in his brain. Come on in, man. Woo! What up? John Bush, good friend of ours, world traveler. John Bush, restaurateur, old school punk rocker, very good friend of ours, tattoo customer. So what's up, man? You just got back from Japan?
Just got back from Japan. Kanpai.
Kanpai.
Just got back from Japan. Probably the best trip I've ever had to Japan.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Definitely.
We're gonna put John on the mic real quick because I only have one mic or two. Come on, get closer.
Hello.
This is my good friend John Bush. Tell us the stories about when you were just in Tokyo and all these hardcore Japanese fucking hooligans noticed that you had like a full bodysuit, and how weird did they think it was?
It's always the funniest thing.
You gotta get closer to the mic.
It's always the funniest thing with me with Japanese people.
It's always the funniest thing.
The funniest thing. No, it's always funny with me, especially with other Japanese people with tattoos, because they're always like, I'm pretty good at talking to anybody, I would say. And
John also lived in Japan for a long time and practiced kendo. He's like black belt master of bamboo sword fighting and all that shit.
Bamboo sword fighting.
So he's not a stranger to the culture at all.
Yeah, and for when I was younger, I was definitely a very Japanophile. I liked everything Japanese. But I realized this as soon as I could stop trying to be Japanese was probably the best thing I could do. The Japanese
we talked about that earlier. Like, you'll never get any respect from trying to be somebody you're not, and like fucking bowing to people.
Yeah, bowing.
You should always observe the customs of whatever is happening.
That's so
but
true.
to be overly, it's kind of patronizing.
Especially there. I mean, it turned into the day that I literally just couldn't take it anymore and went to a bar and slapped my hand on the bar and like, "Where's the Budweiser in this place? Let's give it some whiskey." And then all of a sudden I had friends. It was really weird.
Yeah. Because before you're like a weird. What's the word for like nerd or whatever? Like
Otaku?
Otaku. Yeah, like some weird otaku. Because like even Japanese girls, they're like, they'll meet a guy and they'll be like, please tell me he doesn't like anime. You know, please, because then the creep factor goes up 100%. And also like, you know, white guys that only date Asian girls. Yes. You know, like there's nothing more, you know, like when a girl meets a guy and she's like, oh shit, that was your last girlfriend, all right, peace. Right. I can see you got a fucking thing.
But so when you meet Japanese people that have like tattoos also, and then they kind of start looking at yours, and they always have this same look where they're kind of like, huh? What?
Well, yeah, what's
and then they, you know, and they just talk around, and then they go, why? Why do you have these tattoos?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm always just kind of like, oh, and then I came up with this line probably 10 years ago, and I've stuck to it, and I just look at myself, and I go, 2 reasons. 1, they look cool as shit. 2, chicks dig it. I mean, it's almost the truth.
Everybody understands that.
Yeah, and then also
everybody gets that.
Old people and Japanese people just instantly start laughing to that. You say that, and they go, "Oh, I get it now." Okay, that's it. Enough said. We don't have to talk about it anymore.
Chicks dig it.
But they're like, why, right?
Yeah, why?
Yeah. Why? Even I've had Japanese people ask me like, "Well, are you not just that, but like, how do you know this?
Right.
Like, how do you know what this is?
Right.
You know,
that happens to be a ton.
Do you want me to show you how to do that before you don't break it?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You want me to do it?
No.
Okay. Because you got to like push these 2 things down and flip it.
Because
I saw you, dude. I saw you gripping it like you're gonna squeeze the life out of it. There you go. You open it like that.
That happens a lot. Japanese people are like, how do you know that stuff?
Yeah. How do you know about it?
And it's just because I pay attention and I'm aware, and I listen. I listen to my friends talk, and I hear what they like, and then, or when I say something I like, I hear what they say about something I like, and I go, oh, okay, I didn't know that part of the story,
right.
But now I do.
Well, yeah, and you understand enough. You've been around that culture.
Yeah, that's my only problem is like I don't speak a lot of Japanese, but I speak just enough really well where people think that I speak Japanese.
Well, and also you've been in the hospitality industry for long enough to know that like, you know, what people are talking about. Like you can read the personalities more. Can I put this in the middle a little bit? So for yourself, Shinji-san, would you what do you see? Like, how long do you want to keep doing the? I mean, you do jiu-jitsu. You just got your brown belt, yes?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations, dude! That's so awesome. With Josh at Clockwork, Clockwork Jiu-Jitsu in New York City. Those guys are great. So when you first started doing jiu-jitsu, did you want to do it because it was just cool, or did you want to do it because of the historical aspect and how it connects to tattooing and stuff? Because when I was doing jiu-jitsu, nobody else in tattooing was into it at all. And it was very like, it took years for like, I drew all these cool t-shirts and stuff that were like traditional tattoo designs. Nobody wanted it. They wanted like the silly old kind of tap out logo type of stuff. And now like it's so cool because so many tattooers do it. But you know, at the same time, I'm like, fuck, man, I wish it was like this, you know. But it was a different time. But do you feel like have you trained in Japan when you go back?
No, I wanted to start if I move to New York.
Okay. Oh, you wanted to start here?
I wanted to start here because and then I had no exercise long time.
Okay.
Just walking and go out.
Yeah, I remember when you first started training, you lost so much weight so fast.
I was tired to life like that. So
well, the less you exercise, the more tired you are. You know, like your body requires. I've never felt shitty. You feel the shittiest when your body moves the least. You know, for sure. Do you, when you travel, when Horitoshi comes to town, or when he travels,
I come here.
When he comes here, what do you? You're still okay. You're still Horizakura, but you're still a Horitoshi apprentice.
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct.
So you guys still operate as a unit when you travel. Does he tattoo most of the time? Like, does he tattoo himself, or do you guys break it up and tattoo your own customers at conventions and whatnot? Could somebody, if Horitoshi was at a tattoo convention, could somebody get tattooed by you still?
Always when he comes to here, traveling, I always support.
Attending him. Yeah, totally. And that's something that also like Deshi, I mean, like that Americans couldn't get about having like a apprentice lifestyle, is that you're never not an apprentice with that person. Like you're always going to be you're always going to be in a position where you need to tend to them and all of their needs. And he still travels. How old is Horitoshi-san?
I think 69.
69, wow. And he still tattoos pretty frequently, correct?
Yeah, he's busy.
In Ikebukuro area of Tokyo,
yeah,
correct? Do you think there's like a certain Ikebukuro style of tattooing? You know, as far as like his the Horitoshi style. You guys all, you and Mitsu have like the most divergent style from him, but it's still very much. You could still see the structure, and you could still see that he was your teacher, for sure. Do you know, like, is that its own style? And who did Horitoshi learn from? Like, who was his biggest influence?
I think Horitoku-san, Shinjuku.
Horitoku.
Their friend.
Okay.
When they were kids.
They're friends when they were children.
A long time. Also, Horitoshi, my teacher, good friend with Kuronuma-san.
Tamotsu Kuronuma.
Yes.
Horiyoshi the second.
He respect him.
Yeah. Well, you see more of a similarity with Horitoshi and Horiyoshi 2 than you do with Horiyoshi 3 and Horiyoshi 2. Definitely, like the way everything's structured and the way everything's drawn. It's very, the shapes are a lot smaller. And there's a lot more emphasis on the smaller background. Mm-hmm. Which I love that shit. And do you feel like you still tattoo in a very traditional way, or do you try to look for new ways and new because with your technique of putting in the color and everything, it has to remain. You have to draw things in a way to where you could shade it like that and still look strong. Like you couldn't. Everything has to have rigid outlines and everything has to be structured so that where you can read it. But do you still experiment with new drawing techniques, shading techniques, stuff like that?
Shading technique.
Like drawing things a certain. Just trying new stuff that has not been seen before in Tebori style.
Always thinking, I want to show good way. By hand shading, I don't want to try machine shading by hand.
You do?
Like machine style shading.
Yeah, you don't want to shade things in a way that looks like it could have been done with machine.
I want to show good thing from Tebori.
Okay.
Because Tebori can't do like a machine style
You can't.
shading.
You cannot.
That's why I just.
Yeah, keep it looking like well thought out, well structured Tebori style rendering. And what percentage of you have to do all your own prep as far as your needles and your grinding sumi? I'm sure you order your sumi from a you get your sumi from Japan.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, and you grind all of your own pigments, and that stuff has a limited life, right? Like it only stays fresh for a certain amount of time. So do you have to use it fresh every time?
Yeah, I put refrigerator. You
refrigerate it. So how much do you do? Do you make a lot at one time, or can you only make a small amount?
I think for three or four sessions,
you make just enough.
Yeah.
Have you ever been really excited about finishing a tattoo and then ran out of sumi? Like you're almost done with the tattoo and then there's no more sumi?
No more sumi?
Yeah. Has that ever happened? You always make more than you need. Okay, cool. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Because I want to have you on here again, but what is if somebody wants to get tattoo from you, should they just forget it, or they should have to find you themselves? What's the easiest way? I don't want people to harass you, so they won't. But
start, but my client is still not finished.
You don't want to start anything new until you have everybody finished.
Otherwise, nobody finished if I start many people.
Of course, yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
So
So nobody can, nobody can get. So there you got it.
You have to come bug Troy for your
You gotta
phone number.
bother
That's
me.
the trick.
Send me endless fucking emails. That we have the mighty HORIZAKURA Shinji, Horitoshi family, Tebori Tattooer, my homeboy John Bush, Kiku. I want to have him on here a few more times. You know, where everybody's still getting used to this the podcast thing. But Shinji's on. Thank you so much for coming on, and it's so much fun. And I want to have you on here more. All right. Thank you so much. Os. All right, we're here with the mighty Shinji, aka HORIZAKURA, member of the Horitoshi family. What's up, man?
What's up?
How are you, my friend?
I'm good.
All right, I'm just lift up on it. It's fine. You just lift up and force it through. All right, so we're gonna talk about a lot of Japanese tattoos from the beginning of their inception to modern day, and how it's changed and what it's all, try to get from an outsider, from an American's point of view, you'll get my idea of what it's all about, and then you'll hear from the real deal from Tokyo, Japan, master of the craft and somebody that's holding on to the old ways as much as possible. So what's up, Shinji?
I'm good.
I am good. Well, you're the best. So what number how long have you been tattooing?
I have been tattooed about
We also have
60 years.
ちょっと待ってください. Yeah, 16 years.
Yeah.